Up in the trash area. Garbage pails that we use on site no longer had tops to them. They had a bunch of garbage pail tops in the pile over there.
Was it windy or something?
I don't know where they went.
Thursday, Mark, how you doing?
Morning.
Recognize him. Yeah, people right. Something. Red velvet, you grab over.
I'm gonna turn off the AC just to cut.
That's a good idea. This room isn't exactly climate controlled, is it?
No, this whole office, we do have AC in our offices, which is nice, but it heats up pretty quick.
I'll bet it does.
Yeah.
You can have the windows open today. It's nice.
Yeah, sure.
So we will have a few folks unable to join today, but we should still have a quorum. So we'll give it just a few more minutes. 3 folks short of a quorum right now, I believe, so we're almost there.
And I have to leave at 8:15.
Yes, Richard will be leaving at 8:15. Adam Luge will be joining us as well remotely, but we'll also have to leave a little early. Because of that, we'll probably move the agenda around a little bit and bump the budget up. So that we can get action on that before folks have to leave, but we still get a quorum. So budget and loan loss reserve.
No Jason this morning?
We should have Jason as well. I know that it's Bob, Gina, Nicole. I think there's one other that's unable to join us, and it's just 4 folks. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right.
What constitutes a quorum?
7. So we're just 2 short. Oh, Susan's the other one who's unable to join today. Yeah.
Probably on vacation.
Yes. All right.
Better grab it while you.
Oh,
Jason.
there's Nicole. All right. So we are, that's about 1, 2. Okay, and I believe that is our quorum right there.
All right,
4,
let's
5,
get
6, 7.
let's get started then.
Folks, awesome. So before I hand it over to Jason to kick off the meeting, I do just want to share. I think we have a couple folks who will have to leave early, so I will suggest that we make some changes to the agenda. Items that will require, I believe, a vote or action by the board are our loan loss reserve as well as our budget. So I would just suggest a motion to move those up in the budget so that we can take action on those before we get to more informational items.
I'll move that we adjust the.
All right, we got a
The,
motion by
agenda.
Richard. Do we have a second?
Where'd mine?
All right, we have a second by Nicole. Great. So with that, I'm going to start with the loan loss reserve. And we do have Fred here for his final board meeting. So Fred, thank you for joining us. And Fred was nice enough to prepare the loan loss reserve this year. Just some quick background on the loan loss reserve. I think folks are fairly familiar with this process. This is basically just ensuring that we have adequate funds to repay our loan to USDARD. And just as a matter of best practices, even though we're not required to use a loan loss reserve for our ACEDC fund, we do maintain a loan loss reserve for that as well. The USDARD requirement for loan loss reserve is 6%. We actually go in excess of that. So Each loan that we have, and we have 17 active loans, has its own loan loss reserve score and percentage. We start our best scoring loans have a 7% loan loss reserve already, again in excess of that 6% requirement for USCRD. And then our tiers after that are 15%, 25%, and 50%. So of our 17 active loans, we currently have 4 that have a 7% loan loss reserve, 7 that have a 15% loan loss reserve, 5 with a 25% loan loss reserve, and 1 that has the 50% loan loss reserve. So currently, and I will share, I apologize, the loan committee did approve this loan loss reserve scoring. Well, approved it for recommendation to the board for final approval. So the amounts we're looking at this year are just 210 for our ACEDC fund, and again, where we only have 1 active loan in that fund. Our Champlain Bridge fund is 4,895, and then USDRD, which is where it really matters, is $144,434, which represents about 17% of the outstanding balance on those loans and 10% of the total lend. So that's just a quick overview on where we stand with loan loss reserve at the moment. If folks do have any questions about, again, why we do loan loss reserve or what that process looks like and how we determine these scores, certainly happy to answer those questions. Also happy to answer any questions folks have about the scoring and the outcomes from this year. So happy to open up to questions. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve. Unless Fred, did you have anything you wanted to add, having put together the analysis?
Nope, sounds good.
All right, and do we have a motion then to approve or any other questions or discussion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Richard.
Second. Great silence, yeah.
And second from Adam. And I apologize, it's probably let Jason call for those motions, but
It's all right, Alex.
all right, Jason, do you want to call
So-
for the vote?
I most certainly will. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion's carried. All right,
Okay.
next time.
Yep.
Do you have anything else, Alex, or should I
Nope.
jump into the agenda?
Well,
Budget.
I'd say jump to the agenda, but let's do budget next, since we'll want to do a motion to approve that.
So in your packet is your 2026 operating budget. I'll pull that up, Alex.
Yes, if I can. Okay, one moment here, I'm trying to. Okay, so there are 2 versions of this. In the packet, we have this version that you see in front of you. I do apologize. I made a couple tweaks to this. There were some numbers that were not accurately represented here between the contingent and the known budget. Here, what is really important to pay attention to, the 3 contingent items we have are, first of all, sponsorships. So we have $2,000 in secured sponsorships. This represents community bank sponsorship of our business education webinar series for for calendar year 2026. This contingent should actually be, so an updated version here, $6,250. So if we fulfill or secure sponsorships for all our remaining events and marketing opportunities, there's an additional $6,250 in available revenue there. Moving down here, our next really kind of contingent item is our ACCD tourism grant, or our GROW grant that we are administering in partnership with the chamber. So we have $1,875 in remaining funds or administrative fees that will come to us for this current calendar year. So this grant's administered on the calendar year rather than the fiscal year that we use. So in contingent funds, we have $5,625. So we will be submitting an application for the next round of grow funding, which will cover calendar year 2026 and calendar year 2027. So if this application is successful, we will get an additional $5,625 in administrative fees that will come to us beginning in calendar year 2026. This I previously had in our known budget for next year. I made the decision to move it back into contingent, this amount. We've gotten very strong indications from the state that the program has been funded for those 2 years. We've gotten good feedback from the state that we will have a very strong application that will very likely get funded. So we feel very confident that we will secure that additional $5,625, but until that's official, I didn't want to put it in the known budget. So I'm keeping it in contingent. And again, the budget you saw had it in our known budget for a total of $7,500. Again, chances are better than that we'll get that funding, but until it's official, I want to keep it in contingent. So I made that change there. And then the last contingent item, where is it? Oh, is USDA RDBG, our Rural Business Development Grant that we submitted on behalf of the town of Addison. This did not change between the original version of the budget that was in SharePoint and this updated version, but just want to call folks' attention to this, that that application has been submitted. So as soon as we get a decision, we'll know the status of that funding. We just haven't found out yet. We do expect a decision in July. So really the important figures to pay attention here with the budget are, of course, our net income and loss. So if we take out contingent funds from our sponsorships, the GROW grant and USDA RBDG, we are looking at a potential deficit of $8,197. I'll be honest, I actually feel pretty good about that deficit. The reason why is I can tell you, for example, Camille just yesterday submitted a grant application on behalf of Acorn to another USCRD program. Is that correct?
Not rural development, but agency of marketing services.
Yes. Okay. So that application, if successful, that is an if, but if that's successful, we would get $9,000 in administrative fees. So that one grant alone would close our deficit. There will be other grant opportunities throughout the year. That again, $8,000 is a deficit I feel like is manageable, one we could close. Much easier than $25,000-$30,000. So if we do factor in our contingent funds, and that's again, if we do secure more sponsorships, which we have had success in the past, securing event sponsorships that we didn't factor in here. So if we are successful securing more sponsorships, if we do get the USDA RBDG grant, and if GROW is renewed, then we will be going into the year with a projected surplus of $3,529. So again, I would love to see us securely revenue positive, but I do feel pretty comfortable with this budget as far as putting us in a position where we could potentially, if not very likely, end next year revenue positive. So happy to entertain any questions or discussion on that.
So Alex,
Yeah.
I'm not sure the best way to handle this. Normally we just approve a single budget. And I get you're confident in those numbers. And I do like, the fact that we haven't had a chance to really look at this revised budget. Anyway, can you post that to SharePoint so we can
Yep.
we can all scan through it?
Yes.
It's so are you asking us to approve the
revised budget is just the more accurate representation of, again, funds that have already been secured. So
Okay.
the revised budget is the non-speculative budget.
No, but
The known budget, yes.
So we'll be approving the known budget with a $8,000 deficit. Is that the,
Yes, correct.
all right? So I guess before we start really discussing it, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve or discuss the budget, Jason?
Yeah, we need if we're gonna approve it, we need, before we really start discussing it, we should get a motion on the table.
Okay, motion to open discussion about the revised budget that Alex just showed.
I'll second.
So it's not just a discussion of that, you're looking for approval of this today, correct? Is that where we're at, Alex?
Yeah, we could.
Since we're rolling into our,
More comfortable, I think. Yeah, we could approve it today or approve it next month if folks would prefer. Again, the numbers haven't changed significantly. There was just those two line items where I felt like present previously wasn't, again, the most accurate way to illustrate those numbers. Specifically, again, the USDA RBDG, that did not change at all between the budget that was sent out and this revised budget. I just wanted to call attention to it because it is contingent. But again, I wanted to clarify with the sponsorships and the grow grant, more clearly distinguish between what was contingent and what was known.
I'm comfortable making a motion to approve it with these adjustments, knowing we can make further adjustments if needed.
okay. So that's what I was that was the motion I was looking for. Do we have a second on that motion? Actually, a little out of sync because we have a motion to open discussion. Would you like to withdraw that motion?
Yeah, I can withdraw that and I'll second Darcy's.
Okay, perfect. So we have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the budget? All right, hearing none. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the budget has passed. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
So I'll back to my agenda here. The other item we need to vote on are the May meeting minutes. Those are in your packet. Are there any, first of all, is there a motion to accept those?
Yeah, I'll
Motion
do
to
a motion
approve
to,
them.
yeah, and I'll second it, Darcy.
All right, so Darcy, Dave, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or corrections to those meeting minutes? It was a pretty brief meeting. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes or
Aye.
for May 22nd?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Turn it back to Alex for the May staff activities report.
Yes, staff activity report is on SharePoint. So I'd encourage folks to review that there. Just a couple highlights I'll share real quick. Folks likely saw the news on the workforce expansion program grant that we secured. So we were one of two regions in the state that will place a full-time workforce expansion coordinator in Addison County for 2 years. Camille did a great job, not just preparing the application itself, but coordinating with our employers and workforce partners. So a big kudos to her for really doing a great job with that. And she will continue to lead the management of that program from our side. And she will actually be involved in the hiring process along with the Department of Labor. So that job posting has been live for a couple weeks, closes today. So we will await word from the Department of Labor on the next step, likely the interview process, which again, Camille will be able to sit in on and participate in. And we'll have the opportunity to have some say in who's ultimately hired. So we will keep folks informed on that as we move forward. Otherwise, we have kicked off the pre-development engineering at the Middlebury Industrial Park. That's our MBRC capacity grant, so that work is now underway. We also recently closed our first loan of 2025. This was actually more of a loan modification for an existing loan that we had to CycleWise. They had some modest cost overruns with their expansion, so we partnered with Vita to give them $60,000 in additional financing, 30,000 that came from us, the other 30,000 from Vita. So that allonge was executed last week, and we will be paying that out on July 1st. With that said, we have had a spike recently in potential borrowers and folks interested in financing discussions. Some of those folks do look promising, so we will continue to work with them, and we'll hopefully have a couple new loan applications in the coming months. We are still very anxiously awaiting word from Ken Yearman, USARD, on the status of our most recent IRP recapitalization request. The last we heard from him, I believe 3 weeks ago, was that we would find out in a week or two. That time has come and gone. So again, it could be any day now. We are very, again, anxiously waiting. So we will let folks know as soon as we have word on that. The deadline for this quarter to submit IRP recapitalization request is June 30th. Of course, we don't want to submit another request until we know the status of our outstanding request. So if this one's unsuccessful, the next opportunity we would have to apply would be September. So we'll wait and see what the word is on this one, and then we will regroup and decide how we proceed with a possible request in September. Otherwise, I'll share that Nicole is hard at work drafting a new marketing communication strategy, which really will encompass all the work that we are taking over, taking back in-house from Clover Ridge Media. Our contract with Clover Ridge, which we were paying about $1,200 a month for, expires at the end of this month. Nicole has already taken a lot of those duties on over the last month or two and has worked with Clover Ridge Media on that training. So is in a good position to, again, really take over 100% of our online marketing communications, e-newsletters, all of that. So Nicole will present rather a complete strategy for that in July. At the same time, Camille is hard at work on a grant services policy, which will also be presented to the board in July. And the last thing I'll share is we are preparing to launch a new member promotion. This is something we discussed at the board retreat. So this is something we're doing in collaboration with the chamber and our downtown organizations, that we're going to run this on a pilot basis through the end of the year. But the idea is that with any new membership, so not membership renewals, but with any new membership that we get between July 1 and the end of this year, we will donate a portion of that membership to one of the 3 downtown organizations, depending on the location of that business. So if it's a Middlebury business that signs up as a new member, we'll donate a portion of that membership to Better Middlebury Partnership. And Virgin's will be Virgin's Partnership, and Bristol will be Bristol Core. And if it's a business located at the big 3 municipalities, we'll make a donation to the chambers. The visitor center is what the chamber requested. And the idea here is that they will, in exchange for these donations, they will really help us market and promote membership for our organization. So we've been working very closely with them on messaging and promotional materials. So we are excited to see what the outcome of this is. And again, we will do this promotion through the end of the year, look at how it's been successful, and then consider then extending it through the end of the fiscal year. So really through June of 2026, depending on the outcome. So we will keep folks informed on the results of that. Otherwise, yeah, we are staying very busy. So if folks have any questions about all the things we've been up to, happy to talk more about that. Otherwise, yeah, we are hard at work here and excited for fiscal year 2026.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
So next on our agenda, citizen comments. This is an opportunity to raise or address issues not otherwise included in this agenda. These include board comments also, or comments that board members have received from the general public that they'd like to bring forth. Anyone have anything they want to address at this point before we move on? All right, hearing none. We've already done the loan loss
Hey,
reserve.
Jason,
Yes.
sorry, I couldn't get my mute off. So I guess that'd be my opportunity just to say my final goodbyes to everyone. It's been great working with you all, and thank you for the great party the other night. Really appreciated that. It was a lot of fun. And again, thank you everyone. And I know you're in good hands. And Alex is going to do a great job. Alex and Camille and Nicole will keep the organization humming. So thanks again.
Well, thank you, Fred. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I truly feel fortunate that I'm going to be able to continue working with you in a different capacity. So really appreciate your leadership of the board and of everything you do in the community.
Thank you.
Jason, can you say anything more about that? Is that a secret?
No, well, so Fred plays a pretty active role in the local Rotary Club. He is as of June or July 9th, he'll be the president-elect for the 2027 year. And Fred will actually be leading this club, our club, through our centennial year, which is going to be a pretty busy year for us. So, I'm really looking forward to working with Fred in that capacity.
So staying busy.
Congratulations. Yeah.
But just remember, it's retirement, so you don't need to say, stay super busy.
Have to learn how to say no.
There are always local boards looking for participants.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. I've already been approached by Salisbury. Yeah.
Yeah. So excellent. Well, once again, Fred, your leadership is greatly appreciated, and I truly hope you enjoy your retirement when you actually get to slow down a little bit. So, so the next item of business, unless anyone else has anything, would be the conflict of interest disclosure. So in your packet is a get to that is a potential conflict of interest disclosure. What really triggered this is Otter Creek Engineering, as you know, I'm the president of, has been hired to be the consultant on the industrial park work and that pre-development work that is a joint venture between ACEDC, Middlebury College, and the town of Middlebury. So this document is intended to just kind of document the little bit of background on that and disclosing that conflict. Unfortunately, this is something that I run into quite a bit, being a small community. Whether it's my role at Otter Creek or my role on other boards, I tend to run into a lot of crossover. The general gist of this is we're handling. I wanted to talk to the board about how we're handling it internally as far as Otter Creek Engineering goes. That I haven't seen the proposal. I've had no involvement, and I will have no involvement in the project. When it comes to any action that this board takes, I will not participate in any of those conversations. If there's an action that needs to be taken, and a vote called, I will turn that over to Dave to run that portion of the meeting. So the tough thing is, being a small community, I run into this quite a bit. And the way I've always handled this is, I believe this can be managed. However, if the community or the board, any board member has an issue with this, with Otter Creek doing this work, I'm more than happy to step aside, you know, from this role. So, I've had many conversations with Alex about this. Fred and I've chatted a little bit about it, and I've actually talked with others in this aspect of how we manage this. I run into this with the DRB quite a bit, where I recuse myself from a lot of the Middlebury DRB. I end up recusing myself from a lot of the meetings, but there's always a lot of the other ones. There's always some connection. So, Alex, would you like to speak about the process that you went through and who you talked to and your take on this?
Yeah. So Jason, covered most of it. And the first thing I'll say is that, really the intent of this is two things. First of all, to avoid, of course, a potential conflict of interest, but also just as importantly, to avoid even the perception of a conflict of interest. And that's what really brought this about, was kind of taking that preemptive step to be very clear and transparent, not just with the board, but with the public of, hey, there is this potential conflict of interest, and we've taken these detailed steps to mitigate that. So I can speak to the selection process real quickly. We drafted an RFP that was directly distributed to, I believe, 11 firms. So there was direct outreach to those firms, inviting them to submit proposals. We got responses from three people. One of those firms was too busy to submit a proposal. However, we did get a proposal from Otter Creek and from another firm based here in Vermont. Both were quality proposals with comparable costs. Ultimately, the decision came down to Otter Creek's history and familiarity with the site. I did, after we made that decision in collaboration with the college and the town, which again was just another step towards transparency. We did not make this decision on our own. We consulted again with the college, with the town, had their support. But I did notify the firm that was not awarded and let them know the reason that they were not selected, specifically again based on the local firm we chose having history with the site. They were very understanding and appreciative that we took the time to follow up with them. So yeah, that was a good process for the RFP. So again, as far as moving forward, as we mentioned, Jason will continue to recuse himself from any education or any discussion or decisions made related to this project. We consulted our counsel, Dave Vinman, on this written disclosure, and we will continue to consult Dave as needed to ensure that we continue to comply with our own ethical standards and best practices. I also, through my pending certification with the American Institute of Certified Planners, have the opportunity to submit a request for an advisory opinion from the ethics committee of the AICP. An advisory opinion, what that does is provide direction saying, hey, this is how you can handle this situation in line with our ethical standards. And then if somebody were to file a complaint against me saying I handled this problem in an unethical way, I can use that advisory opinion to say, I was given this advisory opinion, this is how I complied with it. And it gives me kind of a level of defense. If that would be the case. My certification again is still pending, so my ability to get that opinion really kind of depends on the certification. So depending on how things progress, that option is available if needed. And the last thing I'll share is again, we have Brent Rukowski as the project manager on this at Otter Creek. So all communications related to the project will go through Brent. I don't think there's really much more I need to say on this at the moment. Again, if folks have questions, happy to answer those. The one other thing I'll share is actually two things. If anybody does have any issues or questions with this project or the potential conflicts of interest specifically, I think there's the opportunity for open board discussion, but I would also encourage folks, if you have any problems or questions, please come to me directly or individually. Happy to discuss those in privacy if folks feel more comfortable that way. So again, if there are issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly, and we can discuss those and proceed accordingly. And then the last thing I'll say is, I don't know how frequently in the past we've had these types of situations. I think we have a good model here, and I think we're doing a good job with this written disclosure and this discussion. But if needed, we can work with our counsel, Dave Vinman, to draft a conflict of interest policy. And again, it would likely just embody the exact process we're using here. But that's certainly something we can do. And the last thing I'll share, based on feedback I got from Dave Benman, is that in the future, if we have situations like this, and if we were to draft a policy, those policies really do typically require board members. It really puts the impetus on board members to kind of take that first step in acknowledging a potential conflict of interest and basically standing up and saying, "Hey, I'm afraid there may be a conflict of interest here, based on my role on the board." So again, I will continue in the future to look toward the board and board members to, take it upon themselves to speak up when you think there may be a potential conflict of interest. But otherwise, yeah, that's all I have to say on that at the moment.
So I will before I ask for discussion on this. This isn't a potential conflict of interest. This is a conflict of interest. As a board member and an owner of this company, there's a financial tie to this project. This meets the, this definitely meets the definition of a conflict of interest. It's how we mitigate this, and ultimately the comfort level of the board and the community. Any comments? Advice? So
I think it's good to get ahead of this. It's great.
Yeah. We're not suggesting we take action on this at this point. But this will be, I'm sure this conversation will come up as we move forward. So, all right. Let's see, where are we? We've approved the budget. Next would be our fiscal year 2026 operating strategy. Turn it back to Alex to discuss that. When you're
Yes, so do want to thank the board again for some very productive discussion at our retreat in May. So based on the discussion and the feedback from the retreat, we have revised our operating strategy. First thing I'll say is it's no longer an opus because it is no longer one page. I essentially have a page for each of our strategic goal areas. Just for context and review, historically our 4 strategic goal areas were capital or access to capital, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and then operational sustainability, resiliency, and effectiveness. We have added a 5th goal area this year, and that is housing. And essentially what this comes down to is, as everybody knows, housing is an extremely urgent issue in the community. Every conversation I've had, and I think I've met with well over 100 businesses since February, and I think Brett can attest to this. Every conversation we've had has really begun and ended with housing and the need for additional housing here in Addison County. So while we've historically been a very business-focused organization, and our mission is to help businesses start, grow, and thrive, we acknowledge that we can't really do that without more housing in the community. So what we've done is create a strategy that really allows us and enables us to play a more proactive role in facilitating development. CHIP will be, or TIF, project-based TIF will be one aspect of this. But this is a really more kind of holistic strategy that, in addition to leveraging project-based TIF, we'll be looking at how we can engage potential developers, how we can work with property owners to bring new properties to market, get those properties shovel ready, and then ultimately market them for redevelopment. So as far as updates at the moment, I would really, encourage folks to look at our housing strategy. That's, I would say, the biggest change, other than just breaking this out and really expanding on our past operating strategy. This is really the newest thing. The other comment I'll make on the overall operating strategy is that it is very robust, it's very ambitious, but a lot of it is really based on, exploratory work in the first quarter of the fiscal year, and then action following. So for example, becoming a certified development company under the SBA 504 program. In the first quarter of this year, we'll do due diligence on that, see if that's a realistic strategy. We may find that it's not, and then in the remainder of the year, we're not working on that anymore. If I don't think we have capacity to do 100% of the things that are proposed here, but the idea is, again, we're going to do due diligence on all these different proposed strategies. There may be 40, 50, or 60% of them that make sense, and those are the ones we'll move forward on. And I think by fulfilling even that 40 or 50% of what's outlined here, we'll be even more productive than we have been in years past. So again, at the surface, this looks very robust and very ambitious, but it's really casting a wide net to look at what are all the possible ways we can fulfill our mission and expand on the services we're providing. And based on our due diligence in Q1, that's where we'll really focus in on the strategies that make the most sense or are the most feasible. So I'm not going to go through this point by point unless folks would really like me to, but happy to answer any questions folks may have.
Hi, this is Rennie. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Rennie.
Well, I couldn't get into Teams. I guess I got in by phone finally.
Yeah, we saw that somebody was trying to get in and it was kind of frozen in the admitting process. So glad you were able to make it in. Apologies for that. And did you have any questions, Rennie, or comments on the operating strategy?
No.
Alex, I think this looks good. I think it's nice to have it on different pages and blow it out a little. So yeah, it'll be good to see what we can accomplish in Q1.
Yeah, and we will, some of these things, grant services policy specifically, we want to implement that as soon as possible. So that, again, we'll be presenting that in July. And the idea there is that, we have, for example, the BGS grant program will be launching here very soon for the next calendar year. And we want to have that in place before we proceed with applications for BGS. So there's some urgency there. So yeah, we will be reporting back to you on several of these things as soon as next month. So
Great.
and we also will be gathering as a staff this afternoon to do a workshop and really talk about and map out how we're fulfilling all of these items over the next year. So
Good job. It's ambitious.
yeah.
As always.
Excellent. Any other questions before we move on?
I do too, sorry.
Thank you so much, Richard. Have a good one.
All right. We do not need an executive session today. And so at this point, unless anyone has anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
So it's been moved. Is there, you did it at the same time, so why don't
I'll second it.
you'll
Whoever.
second it? Excellent.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And I hope everyone enjoys this beautiful day.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Alex, you still on? This is Mark Foster.
Yeah.
Can you give me a call
Yeah.
at some point?
Yeah.
Um,
I'll give you a call today.
I just have a quick question that doesn't need to be publicized.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I will give you a shout here probably this morning if that works for you.
Okay, you got my contact.
Yeah, Fred, do we have a number for Mark?
I have it.
Or yeah,
You
Nicole
should,
has
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay,
So we got a
Hey,
number for it.
Mark, I got a question for you.
I'm old.
Do you guys do retail bulk mulch?
Yes,
So I could come by with my trailer and get a load of mulch?
yes, you can. Yeah, we have. I think there's 4 different flavors.
Thick chocolate.
We can find some. It may not be chocolate.
All right, I might be by today.
Okay. Fred, thank you for your service. I didn't make the shindig. I changed phones and everything got erased, so
Oh,
my
no.
memory's short. My phone doesn't work, so I thank you for everything you've done and
Thank
helping
you.
me.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Alex,
Have a good one.
are you in the office tomorrow?
Yes.
So like, I saw one meeting on your schedule. I can come by for cover some last items.
Yeah, that sounds good. I know I have a couple things to check in with you on. So yeah, I will
Alright.
be here. Yeah, you saw the one meeting I have. Otherwise, I will be here till 3 o'clock.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Camille, Nicole. Bye. I'll be in the office every once in a while. So
Yeah, we'll see you.
yeah,
All
I
right.
gotta
We'll see
I
you
gotta
tomorrow.
clean out my office.
All right. Thanks for joining today.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.